RealAgriculture.com's coverage of Canada's Farm Progress Show in Regina, Saskatchewan is brought to you by Morris. We hear you. Okay, we're here for another edition of the Real Agriculture Roundtable. We're at Farm Progress 2012. Myself, Sean Haney, Lindsay Smith, editor of Real Agriculture, and today we're fortunate enough to have Don Henry, Chief Operating Officer of Morris Seeding, or Morris Industries with us.
Yeah, it's close
and as well, Morris is our sponsor for our show coverage this week, so we very much appreciate that, Don.
You bet.
So Don, let's talk a little bit about seeding technology.
Sure.
What are some of the things that you see being on the forefront, or where you're striving for from Morris's perspective in terms of new seeding technology?
Yeah, I think all of us in the industry have seen a real change in the product mix from a conventionally run air seeder to variable rate technology. And there's some great systems out there. It adds some convenience to the actual setting. You can fine-tune your setting down to, very specifically how many acres per acre you want, or how many pounds per acre you want, I should say. The idea of putting in a prescription map now is very capable. And that's, I've run it myself. It's amazing to see that air seeder run and match up your fertilizer placement in the areas of the field that you want based on what your agronomist has provided. So I think we'll certainly see more of that happen. I guess from an operator perspective, though, we really have to get our head around that, that adds some complication to the system. It's not just as easy as putting a sprocket on the machine or moving a slide and saying, I'm going to put 100 pounds of product on. I mean, you really have to get your head around that your tractor has to have the appropriate hydraulics. You have to have a good GPS signal so that you ensure that you're putting the right stuff on in the right place. Your monitor, you have to have confidence in your monitor. So it's up to us as manufacturers to make sure that we really train our customers so they're comfortable with the product. When they go to the field, they're not going, boy, I hope it's putting on the right amount. You just can't be there. I mean, your inputs are way too high. Mm-hmm. You just have to have that confidence level that this thing's doing a great job. And I've got lots of confidence in our product that we can certainly do that. We talk about what we call and branded the input control technology or the overlap control, and I think we've got a great product there. But we worked with cooperators. We've got a couple of great cooperators we worked with this spring, and again, when we talk about the complication side, we have to get our head around that as well. That when you have multiple sections of your drill that you're going to shut off because now it's overlapping, you've got to get back to my GPS has got to be really good, the signal's got to be strong, my monitor's got to work well, and the system that I've put on my air seeder is working appropriately, because you don't want that section shutting off at a part of the field where it shouldn't be. I mean, we're talking hydraulics, we're talking electronics, we're talking GPS. So I'm not trying to scare people, but I think people really need to get their head around that there's some excellent technology out there, but you better be prepared to have patience to learn it, understand it. It's not a matter of pushing the on button and going. There's a lot of training involved.
That's too bad.
It is. I mean,
can you work on that for next year?
Yeah. Well, and the last couple of years we've had wet years, and some areas have not got their crop in, or half a crop, or 25% of their crop. So now when we go to the field, we don't want to mess around. We want to get the crop in the ground. That's the biggest thing. Yes, we want to do it right. We want to be particular and get the right stuff in the right place. But at the end of the day, we've got to get crop in the ground because we have had such a narrow window to get that crop in. So as soon as when you add this complication, you have to have patience and understanding that you can make this system work and have confidence in it. So I maybe got a little bit off track there, but that's some of the new technology, and there's some, our colleagues in the industry have brought out some great technology, but it adds to the complication. It's not a hoe drill anymore. It's not a set of diskers that you're pulling down the field, and you've got to make sure that your operators understand that equipment and they're confident that it's doing the job that it should be. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask about variable rate technology, not just about fertility, but even with seeding. Like, are we there that farmers are adopting, because it sounds like variable rate fertility really gaining ground, but are we there with upping and lowering seeding rates relatively easily with GPS mapping and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely, Lindsay. Yeah. I've got a lot of confidence in it. Our farm is south of Regina here, 50 kilometers. The May long weekend, I seeded a section of canola with prescription mapping, and we've got a great agronomist out there. It's amazing, I'm going to date myself here, but it's amazing that when you turn at the end of the field, you push the button for your auto steer and you put the drill in the ground and you let it go, and you see the rates going up and down depending on where you are in the field, and it worked perfectly without a glitch.
So how much of a range and rate would you have?
Yeah.
In terms of your seeding rate?
I mean,
Like
your only limitation there is really your air. You've got to set your air high enough that when you're at your maximum rate, that you're not obviously not plugging any runs. In our case, we're in this heavy Regina clay, so
Wet?
it wasn't bad. It is today, but it wasn't bad that weekend.
Yeah.
So we were probably ranging anywhere from about 180 pounds per acre on this particular tank to 240 to 250. So there's a reasonable range there. Now we don't have hilltops, we don't have valleys. It's flat. Some of the variation would have been maybe weed pressure historically, or it might have been that field blew at some point in the past. So that might have caused some of the variation of why we have this different fertilizer needs. But that section of canola went perfectly, and we'll see the results. We'll see the results.
We were chatting last night about variable rate seeding, and like you mentioned about the push button.
Yeah.
What are some of the steps that a farmer should take to get to that stage of actually driving in the field? It's just not.
Sure.
It's just not simple. I think a little 5% more, 10% less.
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly try to train our customers as good as possible, and we had a session in March where we had our customers come in.
Insert the microchip.
Yeah, and have the product inside, indoors, have the monitor. We can approximate on a laptop. And allow them to play with that so they can simulate what's going on, and
that's cool.
Again, just to give the comfort level, the confidence level. I mean, that first 80 acres, maybe you want to spend some time and make sure you're putting the right amount on and do the variable rate, and maybe you want to weigh the product into the tank and weigh it out on that 80 acres to say, you know what, this thing's bang on, because I've got the confidence to do it. Our people will have the confidence to do it, but as a farmer, I need to have that confidence, because that canola is really expensive and that fertilizer is really expensive, or whatever. Our inputs are expensive. So let's take the time, make sure that we know we're putting the right product on. And when you've done that experiment and maybe you have an issue, you then phone us and say, hey, I've got 20% more on than I thought. What's going on? And with our Morris 360 line, we've got people on the phone all day long, all night long, that can answer that question for you. Because it may happen. Maybe there's a hydraulic line that isn't right, or maybe there's a motor that isn't right, or maybe there's a locking collar that didn't get locked. Let's make sure in that first 80 acres, Sean, that we're comfortable that we're putting the right amount on.
So is your testing program getting, with the increased complexity, is your testing program getting more extensive?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. We've run the ICT, our input control technology, the overlap control. This is our second year now. We're still not at a level that we think, because the seeding rate is so critical, we're not at a level that we're going to commercially offer that product. We're going to wait another year. We're going to put some more units out to cooperators to make sure that it's working well. Normally maybe we would have a spring of testing and then go, okay, we're ready to commercially operate it or offer it. But when you're talking seeding rates, we can't have a problem. We can't have a problem. So we're going to go another year yet before we commercially offer it. And on paper, the overlap control, the input control technology makes sense. I can pencil that out all day long, that I can pay for that system real quick. But at the end of the day, it's got to work, and the operator's got to be comfortable that it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. And what is your estimate for savings on something like overlap control? I mean, is there a window that you're thinking, this should be able to, in the average year, save you 20%, that sort of stuff? I mean, it's hard to put a number on, but
it is, Lindsay, because I think it's because every area is different. Where I come from, if it's a dry year, we've got square fields, and my only overlap is going to be at the edge of the field when I've got 20 feet left and I've got a 60-foot drill. On a wet year, where we have lots of sloughs in our area, and I'm going around them all the time, that's a totally different year. If you're north of Regina and you've got bush and you've got to go around bush, so everybody's a little bit different, and I think you have to make some assumptions and probably do the calculation yourself, probably. But at $10 a pound canola, or $30 an acre fertilizer, whatever, it's not that hard to quantify.
Yeah. Do you think that a lot of guys that's the main thing they look for, is like, what is the overlap going to save me in sort of an independent thing? Is that what you hear back?
Well, yeah, and I think so, because, I mean, again, it's a layer of complexity, it's a layer of something else to learn and incorporate on your farm. I think that certainly we're at the point where we've got the GPS maps, we've got the different layers of information coming in, and farmers are looking, how do I use this to the maximum ability? And I think overlap or variable rate technology is definitely one of the ways to make really good use of that information that's coming in. So certainly, you know, I think it's a question at, okay, if I've got this information already, how can I now make it work for me to save me some money or make me some more? So,
at the end of the day, you have to pencil it out that it makes sense. I mean, we do, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, as customers, we do buy things for convenience. Variable rate adds convenience from a calibration standpoint, rather than cranking or changing sprockets, whatever.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's a relatively expensive option that we've got to make sure that it's giving us some benefits.